Construction News Tracker is presented by Caterpillar and produced by 4constructionpros.com. Within a matter of days after Washington lobbyists said any chance of an infrastructure bill this year was fruitless, President Trump has decided to take up the major issue, this time as part of his coronavirus response. The president told lawmakers that he wants $2 trillion for infrastructure as long as interest rates stay at zero. The surprise announcement was based on the need to put Americans back to work after the COVID-19 virus issues abate, and he wants a big, bold plan to carry that out. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin has been talking with House Democrats about an ambitious package. In response to Senate Republicans' clear opposition to a House infrastructure bill, though Speaker Nancy Pelosi is considering withdrawing Democrats' infrastructure priorities in support of a new bipartisan stimulus measure. The Labor Department reports that some 16.8 million applications for unemployment payments have been received through last week. Now 1 in 10 Americans is jobless, the largest pileup of unemployed since 1948. Just a tip of the iceberg, according to economists, who expect the nation's unemployment rate of 3.5% to skyrocket possibly as high as 15% once all the unemployed are accounted for. That Paycheck Protection Program, initiated as a result of the virus crisis, provides a popular means for construction firms to obtain more cash flow for business struggling to cope with the pandemic. Under pressure from AGC, among other groups, the Treasury Department has ordered the SBA to amend its final rules covering workforce size and annual revenue before being eligible for the government funds. AGC Chief Executive Steve Sandhurst said the changes will help smaller firms continue to operate and retain staff. AASHTO is asking the Congress for an emergency stimulation of funds to offset an estimated 30% loss of state transportation revenues over the next 30 months. The State Highway and Transportation Association seeks $50 billion distributed to state DOTs via formula funding, which amounts to $16 billion for revenue loss in the remainder of fiscal year 2020 and an additional $33 billion for fiscal year 2021. The AASHTO request outlines the need for the federal backstop to prevent cancellation and delays of projects, as well as potential DOT job losses. Some 500 contractors and over 31,000 workers participated in an AGC-sponsored national stand-down last week. Staged on April 9th, the action was to emphasize the critical need for contractors to implement the latest coronavirus safety measures at job sites. AGC Vice President of Communications Brian Termale emphasized that contractors need to continue to operate dependent on worker protections and the public assurance without any margin for error. It's essential that the industry adhere to a strict code of conduct when working job sites, as construction is the only U.S. industry left operating with few restrictions nationwide. The COVID-19 crisis has caused Caterpillar to shut down some of its operations in the U.S. CAT has not specified which of its manufacturing plants, product categories, or parts distribution centers will be affected. The company also announced it was withdrawing its 2020 financial outlook. The magnitude of the pandemic and any impact on CAT's businesses cannot reasonably be assessed at this time due to the fluidity of the situation. Microsoft founder Bill Gates says his foundation will build factories to manufacture a coronavirus vaccine. Gates says he will pay for 7 factories for vaccine candidates and in the end run will select the 2 best promising ones. Gates says his foundation can mobilize faster than the government to fight the outbreak because of that deep expertise in infectious diseases, and it's expected to cost the foundation billions. The 2020 outlook for home building nationwide has been moved from stable to negative as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. Moody's Investor Service issued the negative report, which reflects expectations for fundamental building conditions over the next 12 to 18 months. Moody's says it sees no improvement over home sales through the remainder of this year. and further sees a 2% decline in the nation's GDP for the year, including a 4.3% decline in the second quarter. Moody's is also calling for a decline to 19% for the home building industry gross margin. The big question is how fast the devastated employment sector rebounds and when. In closing, since praise reassures individuals, it helps them neutralize doubts they have about themselves. This is Construction News Tracker, looking over the industry that makes the world a better place. Presented by Caterpillar and produced by 4constructionpros.com. Follow us on social media at Twitter using hashtag Construction News, YouTube at 4ConstructionPros, and on Facebook at /4ConstructionPros, as the streaming web never ends.
Construction News Tracker is presented by Caterpillar and produced by 4constructionpros.com.